and welcome back to the Bonsai Socials podcast. We have got our second guest, which again is so exciting. This is Annie, a social media manager and Pinterest expert. Now, on a personal level, I'm so excited for this because I have not. Pinterest is not my area of expertise as a social media manager, and I see so many people talking about it, and I am just so excited to learn more. So I will give the floor over to you, Annie. Introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your journey, becoming a social media manager, and all that lovely stuff.
Hi everyone, I'm Annie. I started on social media like unofficially when I was 15 with like a fun little study account. I used to literally just post my study notes and I just connect with other people in the study world. And honestly, I feel like everyone who's in social media, either in a social media manager role or a content creator role or like an online business, we've all had some sort of like mini social media project, whether it's like YouTube videos or just like posting dance videos when we were younger. And for me, it was just like posting my little study notes and just connecting with other people in that world. But I was 15, so I think I kind of gave up in the summer holidays because life just lifed and life got busy. So I kind of paused it for a while. And then when I was 16, COVID-19 hit and I had a lot more time, but I was very much judged in school. And I feel like a lot of other people who start social media started from a place of potentially being judged. I was bullied when I was younger, and I didn't really want any of my friends to find my posts. So I thought, where can I post that not a lot of people go on and won't really find me? And it was either between Facebook or Pinterest, and Pinterest just seemed a little bit more interesting to me. So I just started posting and playing around on Pinterest with like a mini study account. And I amassed around like 1,000 followers. We hit 100,000 monthly views in a month, and then I kind of realized, oh, maybe there is something to Pinterest. But I didn't really hit into the social media manager world immediately. I just started my journey when I was 21, which is currently. I started off as a freelancer. I was a community manager for another social media manager. And in December of last year, I started taking on my own Pinterest clients.
That is so exciting. How's it going with the new Pinterest clients?
It's going quite well, actually. We've got we've got three Pinterest clients. One's just joined recently, and that's it for now
Ah.
because I'm still at uni. So I'm not planning on taking on any more management clients. But it's been really fun. We had one person join us in December, and their account has just gone crazy. And I think
I love
that's
that.
just like a testament to the power of Pinterest, which we'll be talking
Yeah.
about today.
Yeah, 100% we're going to be talking about Pinterest today. How are you finding, like, because I guess being a business owner, being a freelancer, and being at uni, like, how's that journey been for you? How are you finding it?
I really enjoyed being free in the freelancer mode at the beginning. I honestly don't think I kind of felt like an assistant, like a social media assistant in my first freelance role.
Mm,
And that really helped me because I wouldn't say, I know a lot of people who are a bit more experienced might say they felt micromanaged, but I actually needed that to just kind of understand what the role requires, how
yeah.
to like maintain clients and like impress clients and all that stuff. So I really enjoyed that. But then as I got into the role, I started to realize it's very habitual. So eventually the managerial role of being managed almost every week was starting to wear down on me,
Mm,
which is when I started to look through Pinterest clients. And I also kind of got the gist that this role was very temporary, and I knew that the agency were going to look for someone more permanent, potentially who doesn't have uni and other things.
mm,
So yeah, I've really enjoyed actually being a freelancer because I needed that like almost like employee kind of mindset where we're learning the job and
yeah.
then I can take away all my learning and do it on my own now, which I think a lot of people miss at the beginning when they're in social media management, and that can, if you're not very disciplined, it can cause issues in terms of
Mm,
client management and all that stuff. But yeah, I definitely think I needed it. Also being 21, and doing multiple things at once, it's
mm.
nice to be managed at some point because I feel like uni is like you do your own thing at uni, like you either do the
Yeah.
work or you don't. So it's nice to have that codependent kind of relationship when you're working with another social media manager or with another agency. It's nice to have that element.
Mm,
But now I really enjoy my Pinterest clients because the main difference I've seen with my Pinterest clients is that they are very trusting. We don't have an approval process in place at all. They just let
love
me post, which is also the reason why we have three clients and I've cut it down to three because I've had a couple of inquiries where people are like, I want to approve every single day, or I want to have a meeting every single day. I'm like, nope, this is not possible,
that.
especially for Pinterest. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's one of the things that I've really enjoyed, just going from like being managed and having meetings every week to now just checking in with clients over Telegram and them just like being like, I'll give you all my details, do your thing.
Yeah.
It's very magical.
It's literally the best thing in the world, isn't it? When a social media, whatever platform, client trusts you. And I love what you said about employment because I I left the full-time working world in March last year. Up until
Mhm.
that point, for a good like 3 years ish, I had been working in corporate. That's what I did straight out of uni.
Mhm.
And whilst obviously much prefer what I'm doing now, there's so much, like you said, there's so much value and so many lessons that you can gain from doing that. I feel like a lot of the narrative online is you're like either side of the coin, aren't you? You're like a business owner, and because you're a business owner, it means you hate 9 to 5. And then, there's the vice versa, but actually, like, whatever path you choose, the other experience is valid, and you can learn so much lessons so many lessons from that. Like, I, similar to you, look back at my time in corporate, and again, whilst it's not what I would choose to do full time now, I learned so much about social media, about managing social media for companies, and it set me up for what I'm doing now. So it's really like, yeah, it's just a great point, isn't it? Because I feel like you get too many people that just one side of the coin, and life is not black and white. It is
Yeah.
not that simple.
I think even like if someone's listening to this and they're really young, just having a part-time job and
Mm,
understanding that kind of role, because social media is so much about bringing like customer satisfaction, yes, but it's so impactful when you do it right. But it's just about understanding what your client wants, because I have some clients that like to be kept in the loop on a weekly basis and some clients that actually find that annoying. And
yeah,
it's just understanding that mix, and you don't really understand that nuance until you've actually worked in a role. Because I do sometimes, I work Fridays, like half days at as a
mm,
receptionist in the NHS, and it is such an eye-opening experience to work in a dental practice. But
mm,
it's taught me so much, because if there's one thing about being a receptionist in the NHS is that you learn how to satisfy your customers, make them feel
mm,
comfortable. And I think there's so many transferable skills that you can have with just, even if you work in like a Tesco's or something, you'll learn so much that you can bring
yeah,
into your business. And I think it can be thrown away quite a lot nowadays, where it's like you either go straight into business or you go straight into 9 to 5. Like you can have both, and your journey
yeah.
will, it might seem slow at the beginning, but it's always worth it because you've got so many different skills to bring to the table. So yeah.
100%. I'm sure it was like Ben from Gymshark. I'm sure I'm gonna say the wrong thing now, but I'm sure I saw a post from him on LinkedIn where, because he obviously, like, I don't know if you've seen, but he worked at Pizza Hut for like the beginning. I think he worked there part time, obviously, at the beginning of Gymshark. And I swear I saw a post the other day that said he literally spent it was definitely more than 5 years. But the first 5 years of Gymshark, plus, I can't remember the exact number above that, he was working part time at Pizza Hut at the same time. So you're so right. Like it doesn't always have to be one or the other. See, I'm in a
Yeah.
part-time job at the moment, and there's just so much value. Like your road doesn't have to be like just a 9 to 5, like you said, or you don't just have to quit your 9 to 5 one day with nothing and like no idea.
Mm.
Like that's a big trend that I've seen go around social media a lot at the moment, is this
Mm.
whole idea of people just like quitting their jobs with no backup and just going for it. And whilst that may work for some people, and all strength to you, I love that for you guys, that's not the only option. If you want to start a business, you don't have to just quit your 9 to 5 with nothing else going on. Like you can, there's like, there's part-time jobs, there's other routes to explore rather than just like quitting your job and being like, right, well, I'm starting a business. Like
Mhm.
that, there's other options for you.
Yeah, I
100%.
100% agree. I think we so quickly see on social media people scaling their businesses like
Mm.
massively, and it seems like it's overnight. But something that I always look back to is Sabrina Carpenter's
I was
rise to
just about to say that.
I've been watching her since she was on Girl Meets World because I was like 12 when she was on Disney. Um, but she's only really seen mainstream success recently,
Mm.
and that's more than 10 years of hard work, and like that's more than 10 years of hustle. And that's not to say she wasn't successful before, not to say she wasn't getting like the money and the income before, but the mainstream success that I feel like we all want or secretly want, it takes time. And I think we all see overnight successes. Like I think people would see Amy Smell and be like, she's an overnight success. But if you actually listen to her story, she started probably 5 years before she actually launched Odd Muse. She was planning it from day one. I think she
Yeah.
said she started it as a project at uni, so probably even before five
I think
years.
she said she did like the £10 logos, wasn't it? I think she said at that
Yeah,
point she knew she wanted a fashion brand. But so yeah, you're right. Like at that point, really, whether publicly or not, that's when her brand started, because that's when her journey, her Odd Muse
yeah.
journey started, because she
Hmm.
was doing the logos to get the money to fund Odd Muse. That's where it started. Like you said, that was
Yeah.
like that equally probably must have been like 10 years ago. So
Mhm.
the thing is with social media is I feel like you like a lot of these people that seem like they have overnight success, they are doing the work, they are showing up on social media, but it takes time. And it's all of a sudden to like other people, it seems all of a sudden because you're like, oh my God, I'm seeing them everywhere now. But really, they've been there for years. They've been putting in the hard work for their business, for social media, for everything. And it comes to fruition when people think it's an overnight success. Do you know what I mean? But it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
There is no such thing.
Yeah, and I don't know if there are any social media managers listening to this, but one other person that I can think of in our space who's grown their account slower than the average coach would be Alyssa from Inspired Media Co. I feel like a lot of coaches, we see like the biggest people grow 0 to 100,000 followers in a year, and I think she's hit 100,000 followers recently, at least on TikTok, and she's been around since 2021. But it's so special to grow slowly, and growing a brand slowly actually means you can attract the right people into your space, and you can have that activated community, which again I think Sabrina Carpenter definitely has. And when I look at anyone in our space, I definitely think Alyssa has. And that's a testament for staying true to your values
Mm.
and growing at the pace that the I guess the algorithm will let you, because if we're growing a business on social media, we are all subject to the algorithms at
Mm.
some extent, but just accepting the pace that it takes. And you can always do things to speed things up, but not pushing it so far that you kind of give your values away, because at the end of the day you want a community as well that is going to care for you and that you will care for, and if you don't
Mm.
connect with each other's values, it's not going to work.
No, I love that. Such a good point about growth because, yeah, you look at everyone on social media at the moment and all they're talking about is I don't know. My first month in business, I hit 5K a month. You know, whatever. That's just like a random
Hmm.
example that comes to my brain. And it's just like why I feel like social media at the moment we glamorize fast growth,
Hmm.
but like you said, that's not the only way to grow, and that's equally, it's not the most valid way to grow. Like I feel like you look at fast growth, and then you look at someone who's maybe grown a little bit slower, taking their time. You know, they've been on their own journey, and you think, oh well, they can't be that good because they've grown slower. No, it's just
Hmm.
everyone has, like I said, everyone has their own pace, their own journey, and yeah, fast growth doesn't necessarily mean that that business or that person or whatever is better than, you know, another business or person that's very similar. It just means that they've grown faster. That's the only difference. Like it doesn't mean anyone's better.
Yeah, of
Um,
course. Instagram or TikTok is something that we start to prioritize now is engagement rates. Like, just
mm,
focus on having a better engagement rate every month instead of focusing on growing your community, because that engagement rate will lead to community growth in the long term. And I
yeah,
know people would rather have a community of 3,000 people where around 5% of them or 8% of them all engage with their posts over a community of 100,000 where 0.5% of the community actually see that content. And I
mm.
think that's a shift that hopefully we'll start seeing. But
I
it's
think we
definitely,
are definitely starting to see it in
hmm,
in influencer marketing, funny enough, because a lot of brands nowadays, not that we obviously are in the influencer marketing field, but you know, you see it, they prioritize in terms of the influencers they work with, they prioritize engagement rates, definitely. There's definitely that shift happening there. But I agree that I actually think like businesses in terms of their social media presence need to take that on more. It's weird because I feel like you would ask a business, oh, what influencer would you prefer? One with a more engaged community or one with an unengaged community? And I would bet that they would say the engaged community every
yeah.
time. But when it comes to their own social media, they're so fixated on, you know, the size of the community and stuff
Mm,
like that rather than focusing on just making like an extremely loyal
mm,
1,000 followers rather than 10,000 followers. Like,
mhm.
it's crazy, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
But
it is.
let's get into the Pinterest stuff because, like I said, genuinely, Pinterest is something that I actually really, really want to get into this year because, yeah, I see it all the time. Just how powerful Pinterest can be. So, one question that you put to me, which I actually think is super useful to everyone to know, because when you said it, I was like, actually, no, I make that association between Pinterest and Instagram in my head as well. So,
Mhm.
first things first, what does differ Pinterest and Instagram in terms of strategy, what people should be posting, you know, frequency, all that lovely stuff that everyone wants to know.
Yeah, so Pinterest is very much a platform where people go to buy things. And we don't realize that, but it is like 85% of Pinterest users go on the platform ready with their credit cards out to buy something. People go on Instagram like with the priority to be entertained, to just relax after a long day of work or school or uni. They don't really intend to buy anything, especially for people that are in the service space. They don't really intend to buy anything at all, but if they see an influencer, their favorite influencer, talk about something, they might be inclined, but they're not interested. They're not getting on the app with their credit cards out. And I think that's the huge difference, because Pinterest prioritizes business, Instagram prioritizes community. And I think that's the key thing, that when people get on Pinterest, they get a little confused by. They'll be like, why don't I have followers? You could have 5 followers and have 1 million monthly impressions. You could have 0 followers and you could have 5 million monthly impressions. That it's so common to not be followed on Pinterest, but the Pinterest goal is to get people off of the app onto your website to buy something or to look at your blog, but Instagram's goal is to keep their users on the app. And based on that, the strategy changes immensely. Instagram, I think most people would post one time a day maximum. Pinterest, they recommend posting 3 to 10 times a day, which when
Wow.
people hear that, they get incredibly scared, but it's so doable when you actually sort out or you start seeing your business as a business instead of I just have an Instagram page. And especially if you're a blogger or an influencer, it works really, really great if you have affiliate links, if you have a blog or a YouTube channel or a podcast, you can start sending people to all these places that you don't necessarily realize, but Pinterest was designed to get you more traffic. It's in a way, it's a prettier version of Google.
That's so interesting. 3 to 10 bits of content. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that. That's even more than TikTok. That
Yeah.
like, do you
Yeah.
remember the like TikTok? Obviously, they say like post 2 or 3 times a day. It's even more than TikTok. But as you were saying that, a question popped into my head. How does it work, right? Because I mean, I obviously, I would suspect like a lot of the people going onto Pinterest are more like product based buyers. Like I know I go on there for like home inspiration. When we moved into this house, obviously I went on there to be like, well, what do I want the rooms to look like? And I think I even found that mirror behind me on Pinterest and I did buy it. But how does that translate with service businesses or like how would a service based business approach that whole Pinterest strategy? Yeah.
Okay.
What's your recommendation?
Yeah. So if you're a service-based business, it's not as important for product-based businesses in terms of SEO, but Pinterest runs on SEO. Product-based businesses I've seen can see more rankings a little bit easier and can get more monthly impressions with an average Pinterest SEO strategy. But service based businesses have to have a Pinterest SEO strategy. So if you are listening to this or you're watching this, you can go to Pinterest. If you open up a business account, it's completely free, and you go to trends in the business hub section, you can actually just start searching up words related to your industry, and it will tell you what's trending currently and what's going to be trending in the next 3 months. And those are the words that you need to be using in your Pinterest profile description, in your board descriptions, and in your pin descriptions.
Mm,
The key thing is Pinterest content lasts for years. It will perform if you post some. I think I went back to my study Pinterest account and I still have one that's getting about 20,000 views a month.
no
And
way.
that is based on two things. It's based on the content being good, but also the SEO behind it being good.
Mm,
So that's the key thing with Pinterest. It's a very long-term game. You won't
mm.
see results tomorrow. You won't see results in a week. You may not even see results for 3 months. But after the 3 month mark, which tends to be the sweet spot from what I've heard speaking to my other friends that are Pinterest managers, but also from my own clients, that is when you hit the jackpot. Essentially, is when you start seeing pins go up, pin clicks go up, and brand awareness go up. If you are a service-based business owner, chances are you have an email list that is very easy to create pins for. I would create at least one pin a week for your email list, just because that takes you from Pinterest's ground to your ground and you start owning your audience. So whether I have clients that are bloggers or in the e-commerce space or in service-based businesses, I would definitely start off with creating at least one pin a week for email lists.
Mm.
And if you are a brand designer or if you're in social media and you're like, I don't know how to get clients, you should essentially have a website. I know you don't need to have a website, but if you want to get on Pinterest, I would recommend having a website.
Mm.
And you could have blog posts where it says this is how this client got X, Y, and Z results. If you're a social media manager, you might say this is how this client added in £5,000 or got £5,000 from this social media strategy, and you just do it as you'd sell on stories. You'd explain exactly what you did on
Mm.
the client's page. And at the very bottom, which I like to tell clients to do, is to link your inquiry page at the very bottom. So whoever's coming in from Pinterest can go to your blog, scroll down, they'll like the blog, hopefully, and they'll just inquire from that link. And
Mm.
that has worked for my service-based business owner that I'm working with. She's in brand design, and that has just worked really, really well for her, just because we've we've iterated the her blog pages to accommodate for the Pinterest for the people on Pinterest that are coming over. But
Mm.
yeah, that's what I would do for service-based business owners. And I do believe that a lot of service-based business owners will either have a Notion template or a Canva template or something low ticket that you can just get people to buy
Mm.
into, and you can test it out. So sometimes you can just send a link straight to the checkout page and people will buy instantly, or you can send a link to your digital shop and people can buy instantly from there. But
Mm.
there are multiple ways to do things as a service-based business owner. We do also have video pins now, so you can test out your reels and your TikToks, whichever's been performing really, really well, and start posting them on. It won't work the same, as in you won't get loads of views or likes, but you might get loads of click-throughs to your blog. Or you can even send them to your Instagram or TikTok page. Just know that Pinterest prefers to send your content, send your viewers to your pages instead of
Mm.
another social media app. But that also works at the beginning. But I do say to people, if you don't have a lot of media, then you're not necessarily ready for Pinterest, just
Mm.
because it is a very heavy like posting platform. And if you don't have enough links and you try and post the same link every day, you'll be flagged as spam, and they might deprioritize your content.
Okay. It's interesting you mentioned video because I was going to ask about video because I feel like it's so big on like Instagram and TikTok and it's even getting big on LinkedIn now. How, like, I know you mentioned there just repurposing Instagram and TikTok videos, but like what have you noticed about video specifically on Pinterest? Like, is there anything that business owners should change when it comes to video, like specific to Pinterest, to see like the best results? Because I guess, like you said, it's a completely different beast in terms of social media platform.
So I would select the videos that you've created that work well with your keywords. So if you're
Mm.
creating something that goes really well on Pinterest is caption ideas, like Instagram caption ideas. So if
Mm.
you're going to create, if you're a social media manager and you want to create a video pen and you don't have anything related to your keywords, it might still work on the platform, but it's not necessarily going to perform as well as the keywords, because Pinterest's algorithm is only focused on the keywords that are currently trending and making sure that your content matches the keywords, which again works a lot better than having to try and figure out what the algorithm changes are. There are usually not many algorithm changes because it's so SEO and keyword based.
Mm.
But that's why the back end work is more important in a way compared to just creating content and posting it.
Yeah, it's interesting you say there's not many like updates on Pinterest because I always notice that like I do a social media update post on a weekly basis and I can't remember the last time I put a Pinterest update on there. Like honestly, it was ages ago probably because I can't remember. I've not seen a Pinterest update in a while, which is refreshing compared to the other platforms who seem to like change their minds every 5 seconds. So we love that for Pinterest.
Yeah.
um, but what's the key? I mean, I guess you've maybe answered this, but just in case there's anything else for the business owners out there, is there any more like key things that people should know when it comes to growing on Pinterest?
Just, and I know they say that with Instagram and TikTok, but with Pinterest especially, patience is key,
Mm.
and trusting that you have got the right keyword strategy, the right Pinterest strategy in place, and just letting it play out for 3 months. I don't want you to stress out about it. there might be a pin. So I had a client join in December. Within 2 weeks, she had a pin go up to 20,000 monthly views, but that's not the norm. And I do always reiterate it with clients that have never been on Pinterest. It's not the norm to have almost any impressions in the first few months of Pinterest. But then after the 3 month to 4 month mark, that's where you'll start seeing results. And it will only really work if you've had that consistency in pins being posted out. So even if you were to post 3 pins a day, Monday through Friday, for 3 months, you will see results at the end. As
Mm.
long as you're giving your keywords, your everything's keyword heavy in terms of the pin description, the pin captions, the pin titles. You can also create shoppable pins. So if you are someone who creates loads of templates and your website's all set up and it's streamlining through easily, then you can start prioritizing shoppable pins and linking your product to your product pin, and people can buy automatically from there. But
Mm.
it is slow in the beginning, but you will get results, and it won't just like once you get results in 3 months time, it's not going to go away. It will be there for forever once you stick to it. And I think that's the key thing. And I know they say that with Instagram and TikTok, but you can see faster results with Instagram and TikTok, but you will see the long-term results on Pinterest. And the key statistic that sat with me that they released recently was that about 45% of Pinterest consumers and Pinterest users have an average income of $100,000, which,
No way.
if you think about Instagram and if you think about TikTok, we tend to have a younger audience on there,
Mm.
primarily on the app. So that should give you an idea of why Pinterest might be a place to prioritize for 2025 and moving forwards. Obviously, we do have a TikTok ban in America looming over us, and
Mm.
although it doesn't affect Europe, if your client base is in America, then it does affect you. Or if you believe most of your audience are from America, then it will affect you in some ways or the other. So a lot of people have either been playing around with the idea of YouTube or Pinterest to try and move their business forward, and both work, but both have their own little elements. And I think the reason why people are so scared of Pinterest is that they don't know how to use it. And I
Mm.
will say there are probably more YouTube videos on how to create an Instagram content strategy than to create a Pinterest content strategy. Um, but Pinterest have released their own resources out there. I think they have their own like free course when you join the business account. You can start going through that. It's not necessarily like the most detailed, but it will help you get started.
Yeah.
And that's like the key thing. I think there are courses out there, but I haven't tried any myself. Everything I've done is self-taught, but I am trying to see if maybe creating a course for social media managers might be a good thing for the
Mm.
future, because I know TikTok's slowly gonna, if it is going to go away in America, we don't know what the impact will be in the UK, in Europe, or for social media managers globally, which I definitely think is something that we haven't really thought about, but it's definitely always in the back of our minds because,
It's
yeah.
crazy, isn't it? It's this whole, and this podcast episode is probably going to go live after we hear about the ban, because we hear about it this Sunday, don't we? So it's currently
Mhm.
Thursday 16th. I don't know what date Sunday is, but we hear about it in a couple of days. And obviously, I'm on LinkedIn quite a lot, and there's been a lot of talk about it on LinkedIn, and a lot of people like saying about the impact of businesses, which 100% needs to be talked about. But just on the point that you said about like TikTok going, it reminded me there was this post saying that 17,000 employees for TikTok are in the USA. And if TikTok goes in the USA, then I guess essentially so would their jobs, because it's banned in their country. They're not allowed it. And it's awful, really, isn't it? Because then when you think about that, you think about, and on your point, like as social media managers, you worry about it. There are social media managers that purely focus on TikTok. Like that has been their speciality for God knows how many years now. And it's scary to think, like you said, how it's going to change that, how it's going to affect social media managers, the people working at TikTok. And I actually feel like, I know we're talking about Pinterest, and we'll move back onto that in a minute, but I feel like TikTok has just been one of those platforms that's been just so hugely pivotal,
Mhm.
and completely changed the way that businesses approach social media. We approach social media managers, and just it's just been one of those platforms that has completely changed the landscape, really, of things. So yeah, it's mental. Like I said, obviously, we'll know by now when you're watching this, but it's weird to think that in 4 days. I still kind of would like to hope that something's gonna come in and stop them banning them, because I don't know, when was it announced? Like a year ago that they were
Yeah.
debating banning it. That's when it first came out, and I remember looking at it and being like, "There's just no way. Like, surely they can't ban TikTok." But yeah, here we are. It's crazy. But another question that has sprung in my head, that I'm sure if I'm thinking it, other people are going to be thinking it. Obviously, a big string conversation when it comes to the other platforms like Instagram and TikTok is engagement. Like, that's a huge, like, obviously that's a huge thread, a huge topic that a lot of social media managers talk on, and how you obviously need to engage with accounts. How does engagement, obviously technically we know how it works, but how does that whole need, like, how does that play out, I guess, like the Instagram's version of like an engagement strategy from a business account, how does that play out on Pinterest? Do you need it, do you not? What does it look like?
You don't need an engagement strategy. What
Mm.
you do need is to maintain what you search on your Pinterest account. So
Okay.
it's very much the same as if you start liking cat videos as a social media manager or as a brand designer or as a business on Instagram. You're more likely going to get engagement from people who like cats or who also are like cat video creators. And the same thing goes for Pinterest. So if you have an obsession with, I don't know, like matcha, and you start searching it up on Pinterest, the algorithm is also going to think that your account is tailored to similar people with those searches, and they'll start pushing it out to those people. So one key thing I always say to clients is to maintain their Pinterest searches on a separate private Pinterest account, because that's the only real way you can mess with the algorithm in a way. So what
Mm.
I tend to do when I get a new account is I'll start searching up things in their niche. So if I have someone in the travel niche, it might be just me typing in places to travel and stuff like that, and I'll just
Mm.
click on random pins so that the algorithm gets the idea that we're only interested in travel, so that we can attract people with the similar audience interest. And that is the key thing. You used to, but you don't have to repin other people's posts anymore. It's probably better for you to focus on pinning only your content, so that when people go onto your account, and if they were to follow you, if they were to look at your other boards, every pin relates to your business rather than someone else's business. So yeah,
Mm.
that is the main thing. And in terms of metrics to look out for, which I feel like a lot of people might be wondering how it works, when you
Mm.
post a pin, the Pinterest algorithm will just send it onto the explore page, and they will send it to more people based on how many people click onto your pin. And if they click onto the link inside your pin, they are going to give you more impressions for that post. If they save your pin, if you have a quote post or like a video post that's really useful and they save it onto their own board, then Pinterest will give you more impressions. And the same
Mm.
thing goes for if they were to buy from, if you have a shop or wall pin, they were to buy from you, then you'd get more impressions on that pin.
Mm. It's just so interesting. Like you said, I actually think it's the platform that's literally the least like the others.
Hmm.
Do you know, like, Instagram and TikTok, yes, they have their nuances. Yes, you need to adapt your content between them. But on a whole, they're pretty in the same bucket, shall we say. Um, and like even LinkedIn, I feel like it's just the professional version of those two. I feel like it is very much going in that direction, but it's so interesting to hear about Pinterest because yeah, from what you've said and what I've gathered, it just feels like the unique one, which we like, because a lot of social media platforms just copy each other, and you're literally like, what's the difference? Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, one one last question. Obviously, feel free to say anything as well that pops into your head that, like, after this, that business owners going to need to know because I know I'm going to be going back and watching this and taking my own notes. um, but is there any like little tips, tricks, things people can do, specifically service-based businesses, um, to generate those more like high ticket inquiry or leads?
The first place I'd start off with is your keyword research. And in your keyword research, try and filter out the searches that you think a buyer who has already had experience in your space or has already had experience with the service provider in your space. There will be searches that have lots of searches, a medium level searches, and a lower level of searches. You want to hit the sweet spot and find the middle level of searches because these are the people that have perhaps already had the high level of searches questions answered. They've done their research, they know where they're at, and they're ready to up level a little bit further. They're not looking for the low ticket, quick Canva templates or Notion templates or like mini guides that they can buy. They're actually looking to invest, and that comes from looking at the keywords and looking at the amount of searches that has been put in each month or each year and trying to find those nuances. If you go onto your explore page once you've done a couple of searches in your industry, you'll see little bubbles that will pop up, and those bubbles will hint to you what people are searching in Pinterest, what people are looking for. And I would do a mix of the high level of searches and those mid level of searches and just keep going at it. But another thing that I would do is I do believe that Pinterest works well if you have a blog section on your website. If you are someone in brand or website development, then I would recommend just doing the screenshot of the whole web design. I don't know what it's called, but I see it all the time on Pinterest where you see all the pages of the web design. Make sure you're sharing the luxury designs that you're producing for brand design or web design and showing that as a pin and pinning it back to the client case study on your website, which you should have. And that will, if they see that you've done it already, they'll want to get it done for themselves. And that's one key thing. If you are more in marketing, then I would do more of a same thing, a client pin, where it's like how this client got X monthly views or gained this much income or X, Y, and Z, and pinning it back to a blog post talking about the case study and their wins, and then having screenshots of those monthly impressions to show people that you are the person for that. And
Mm.
one thing that I have seen is if you are starting to rank on Pinterest, you will also slowly start ranking on Google as well, which is why it works hand in hand, to work on the SEO part. And it does work. Pinterest strategy does work a lot for service-based businesses. It just feels like a different minefield. There are loads of service-based businesses who have podcasts. Like you can be linking to your Apple podcast link for each episode, your Spotify podcast link, and your YouTube link, and that's three links there for you. And if you
Mm.
want to send people to Instagram, you can do a weekly pin sending people to your Instagram page, or you can send people to specific carousel posts where you're breaking down a case study. Like it works the same way. If you want high ticket inquiries from Pinterest, you'll want to be creating that content or trafficking them through, sending them through
Mm,
to posts that will convert high ticket clients. So it's not that Pinterest is this magic pill and the people that make
mm,
money from Pinterest are just posting whatever. They're posting strategically with the content strategy, and it's very similar to Instagram. So if you're creating if you're a brand designer or something and you're creating a post on color palettes, that is a question that is answering a problem for a generally a low ticket buyer.
mm.
Whereas if you're talking about this is how this client's brand strategy rebrand got them £20,000 extra in revenue per month, that is what a high ticket client wants, because they've done the color palette, they've done the basics, and now they're going on to how can I up level my sales, and that is the key thing.
Mm,
Yeah, so it can be slow sometimes with service-based business owners in terms of getting high ticket buyers or high ticket clients. But one thing that I'm saying from experience of working and getting my own clients is just take it slow and trust your testimonials, because high ticket clients also have high expectations. And if
mm.
you don't have a testimonial for yourself, or for a previous client, then it might be a sign that you need to slowly teach yourself how to get a high ticket client so you can get those high ticket wins for your high ticket clients. And I say that with love, but I think that's one of the things we all jump into the industry being like, I can make thousands of pounds
Yeah.
immediately, and that's not necessarily the case. That you need the proof to back up your pricing.
No, 100%. 100%. You need to. I think like I see a lot of talk on social media about which it's like a this is a whole other debate, but a lot about social media managers charging their worth, which 110% on board with. But like there's also the argument that from a client point of view, they have to see the value. They have to be able to justify those prices in their head. And no one starts out charging £2,000. Like, for any service, this is not even just social media. Like everybody, you start low, don't you? Like you said, to get the proof and to grow your skills and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, that's like a whole other debate, isn't it? There's so many like coaches I see say that, and yeah, it's a very tricky conversation because yeah, you should 100% you should charge your worth, but that there's you have to think about the client and what they're going to be able to justify in their head and what they're going to be able to go like, yes, I can see the worth until you, like you said, build up skills, testimonies, all that lovely stuff. But that has literally been so insightful. I'm so happy and thankful that you've come on because yeah, I feel like Pinterest is not it's not a platform that a lot of people talk about, but like I said, I can see the value and I think it's a platform that obviously I want to try and embrace, but I'd actively say to other business owners to try and embrace it as well
Yeah.
for their business and try it. Because I mean, it's like any platform that I'm sure you've got the question, I've got the question, well, what platform's best for my business? One, the platform where your target audience is, but two, you have to test the platforms to know which one's best for you. So you can't say that Pinterest doesn't work for you without giving it a go. And you've given everyone and me some amazing tips for Pinterest and how to approach it and how to get started. So yeah, thank you so much. This episode has been so good. There's one question that I'm going to ask every single guest at the end of the episode, and it is if you could give one piece of social media advice, obviously maybe more Pinterest focused for you, what would it be? Like the golden piece of advice that like it's just a non-negotiable. You should really be doing it.
Um, this is more of a piece of advice that I give to clients, especially if they are in the early stages of getting on social media. Just
Mm-hmm.
know that the only constant in social media is yourself. The algorithms are always going to be inconsistent. and you need to be the constant in the equation of the algorithm and yourself, because algorithms will always change, but your content and your messaging and your mission behind your brand should always be constant, because that's when you win. I will share a story of someone that I've seen recently. They are in nutrition and they went from 300 followers to 30,000 followers in a week, but they hadn't seen any traction for 60 days of posting on Instagram. So I think that is a testament that the hard work will pay off in the end, but it
Mm,
just takes time. And I think in the world of instant gratification and the
mm,
speed, we don't realize that the slow seasons are sometimes there just to prepare us. So
mm.
if you're not seeing the results and if you're still being super consistent with your strategy and how you show up, then I'd say just use that as time to prepare for everything that's to come, because it will come. And when it hits you, you need to be prepared to serve everyone.
Yeah, no, and that is such a good bit of advice. Like you said, that spans, yeah, it spans over all of social media. It takes time, it does, and to see real impact from it. And I think, like, to get the impact that a lot of business owners want, like, they want social media to change the trajectory of their brand.
Hmm.
And yeah, like you said,
Yeah.
it takes time. What's the phrase? Good
Hmm.
things come to those who wait. I love
Yeah.
saying that at the moment because I think it's so true with, obviously, that's quite philosophical, but more aspects to your life than just social media. But
Hmm.
yeah, it is such a good way to end the episode and such a good point to end the episode on. So yeah, thank you so much, Annie. Honestly, it was so insightful. And yeah, I will see you all in the next episode.